Okay, hi everyone, I'm Jenny and tonight I'm going to talk to you all about two subjects I feel really passionate about. So that's Sex and the City and feminism. Mainly how they both interact and how one's influenced the other. So in case any of you aren't aware of the show, Sex and the City is an American sitcom set in New York about Carrie Bradshaw, the main character who writes a column documenting the relationship dramas and the sexual escapades of her friends, Miranda, Charlotte and Samantha, who should appear behind me in a moment. So we've got Miranda, who is a lawyer who has a certain amount of cynicism about men and relationships. We then have Samantha, who works in PR, and her attitude seems to be with men, the more the merrier. We then have Charlotte, who works in an art gallery and is a hopeless romantic who spends a lot of the series trying to find a husband. Right, so I'm sure you're all aware of what feminism is, but just in case you're not, it's essentially the belief that men and women are equal and encompasses issues from the pay gap to sexual harassment. And behind me, that was one of my favourite definitions. So where do the two topics collide? First of all, we have female lead characters. Whilst a lot of the storylines may revolve around the men in their lives, it's clear that they're only the supporting characters and that Carrie and her friends are the starring roles. Women are massively underrepresented in so many areas of life, from politics to academia, as the figures behind me show. And so having prominent female characters on a show with such high ratings can help women stay in the picture a little bit more, even if this one is only fictional. Secondly, as the title suggests, the show contains a fair amount of sex, from threesomes to sex swings and everything in between. The characters aren't afraid to show that they enjoy sex and they're happy to talk about it with each other. Whilst not all women may identify with this, what Sex and the City did was, it was first of all a refreshing change to see women as the sexually liberated ones rather than men. Also, sexual liberation has been an aim of many feminists, from Germaine Greer to Caitlin Moran. And for some, Sex and the City has made it a little bit easier to talk about their own desires and experiences with their friends, which, considering how stigmatised sexual fulfilment amongst women once was, is a really powerful step in female empowerment. Thirdly, the lead characters have all been given their own identity, which is a really effective way of demonstrating the variety of roles women can play in society and the opportunities which should be available to us all. For example, we've got Miranda, who's a high-powered lawyer, forging ahead with her career, whereas we've got Charlotte, on the other hand, who's behind me now, who makes it clear that despite career successes, what she really wants to do is settle down with a family. Unfortunately, women are still often judged by the lifestyle choices they make, an issue highlighted in the episode called A Woman's Right to Choose. Carrie's friend, who has children, appears to look down on her decision to spend money on frivolous items like shoes rather than settle down with a family. As Caitlin Moran says, women, it is presumed, will always end up having babies. And so this episode essentially shows that when women sometimes veer off what society thinks is our rightful path in life, it can be greeted with quite a lot of negativity. Season 4, episode 10 brings to light the issue of sexism in the workplace. Samantha is essentially told that she's been turned down for a job because of her gender, which sparks discussion amongst her and her friends about the double standards which exist when it comes to emotion in the workplace. So Charlotte and Miranda express frustration at the fact that just because they're females, it's assumed that they're quite emotionally unstable. And Samantha makes the point that male emotion is often deemed a lot more acceptable in a working environment. Lastly, we have women's issues. So with storylines on sensitive topics such as breast cancer and abortion, Sex and the City wasn't afraid to deal with subjects which, like a lot of issues that affect women, are often swept under the carpet and a little bit difficult to talk about. When researching my presentation, I came across a really good piece by Alice Wignall, which basically says a lot of what I've said, but in a much more coherent way, so I'd recommend you read it. And she basically sums up where feminism is, or where Sex and the City and feminism line up. So I think her line saying, "The programme is funny and clever and thinks women are important," is quite appropriate. It's not without its limitations, so basically there's a lot of talk about men, and it's not particularly representative of all women, which is a shame. It's called Soft Vanilla Feminism by Lynn Siegel, who's a professor of psychology and gender studies, which I think illustrates the fact that although a lot of feminists like the show, it's probably not groundbreaking in terms of what it's done for the feminist movement. So to conclude, I'd like to refer to Living Dolls, which is a brilliant book by Natasha Walter. Natasha says, "Since the idea has taken hold that women and men are now equal, it's seen as unproblematic that women should be relentlessly encouraged to prioritise their sexual attractiveness. While Sex and the City was very pro-woman, its heavy focus on image can create a whole new host of problems. So Sex and the City was absolutely fabulous at demonstrating girl power and putting women in the picture. However, we've still got such a long way to go in terms of true equality, and issues such as the insane pressure to look a certain way still need to be dealt with. Thank you.